On today's show, we'll preview tonight's matchup between the Ottawa Senators and Pittsburgh Penguins.
Two teams that have been stacking up wins lately. We'll look at both teams' lineups, players to watch, and keys to victory.
This is Brady Tkachuk, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators. I'm Ross Levitan alongside Brandon Piller, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win that bet. Today is Monday, February 2nd, and Pillsy, do you mind if I start today's show by reading a text message that I sent our group chat after the Carolina loss 2 Saturdays ago?
Let's do it. Let's hear it. I'm sure this will be perfectly sane.
So this was a half hour after you pressed the panic button. I was going through the show, listening, figuring out what are these Ottawa Senators? And I decided on something.
Okay.
I said, quote, if the Ottawa Senators can miraculously end this homestand with 3 straight wins and beat Vegas, beat Colorado, and the New Jersey Devils, I'm going fully delusional. Pillsy, can you update us here? What happened?
They beat the Vegas Golden Knights. They beat the Colorado Avalanche, and they went on to beat the New Jersey Devils. All 3 games, emphatic wins, and all 3 games won by different goalies. Matt Sogard gets the Vegas win. James Reimer gets a win up against Colorado. And then Linus Ullmark makes his return and gets a win at home on Saturday night in front of a packed CTC. So, things could not have gone better, in my opinion, in that 3-game stretch since I pressed the panic button.
From what you saw from Linus Ullmark in that win on Saturday, are you surprised that Travis Green just announced that tonight it will be Linus Ullmark's net again?
You know what? I'll be a little honest, Ross. I was surprised just because I thought they might give him 1 game off to ease in and then give him the second half of the back-to-back. But either way, it's fine by me. I'm not going to go into one of my typical rants about how they're misusing the goalies here or anything like that. If Linus Ullmark's ready to roll and he wants to continue going after that hot start, nothing wrong with that. And I would say that this Pittsburgh game is more important to the Ottawa Senators than tomorrow's game up against the Carolina Hurricanes. So you want to put your goalie in, your number 1 guy, if you feel he gives you the best chance to win, nothing wrong with that.
I also think it's important for him to feel a bit of a flow, and there's only so much runway left before the Olympic break. 3 games, including this back-to-back, where you're expecting that Reimer's going to play tomorrow. So get him a feel, get him a flow of day on, off, back on, with travel, get back into the NHL cycle before a full reset once we hit February 6th. We're also later on going to talk about the NHL trade freeze that's starting on Wednesday, because I do think it's interesting to note, and there is some news around the NHL when it comes to general managers, but we'll save that for later, because right now it's the continuation of the Linus Ullmark conversation. And you do know that Linus Ullmark has 1 shutout this season, right?
Yes.
Do you remember what team it was against?
I'm going to assume the Pittsburgh Penguins. I did not remember that, but
correct. The Ottawa Senators with a home win against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Linus Ullmark made 25 saves for the victory in that one. He also was great against Pittsburgh last season. Remember that game in Ottawa where he played both halves of the back-to-back? So let's go. It's all systems go for Linus Ullmark. And I really like, there was a note in Ian Mendez's weekly musings that he does where Hockey Night in Canada doesn't have the same capabilities as TSN, where they broadcast on TV and in the arena with the in-house PA. So for Saturday night games, whoever does the bench interview is just talking to the crowd, and whoever does Hockey Night in Canada is just on TV. The story clearly was Linus Ullmark, but when they found out that they wanted Linus for TV, they went to Brady Tkachuk and said, Brady, can you do the bench interview as the second star of the game? And Brady said, come on, guys, let's give the people what they want. They want Linus Ullmark. So lucky enough, Sean McKenzie was saying that they wanted to pre-tape that interview to run a little bit later because they had games that were still wrapping up. I know there was a lot of when they cut right after the win. They didn't even show Ullmark getting all the love from his teammates in the line. They went right to the shootout between Vancouver and Toronto. So Linus actually went and did the bench interview, then did the Hockey Night in Canada interview, and then gave a 6.5-minute post-game press conference, and he looked exhausted. And I don't blame him at all. That was a lot of emotional, like a deep exhale from what he experienced. So the fact that it went as well as it did on the ice, I think was just perfect.
Yeah, and I mean, what a return for him. Obviously gets the standing ovation from the crowd right away. He gets to celebrate the win with the guys after, like you mentioned, kind of doing the car wash with the media tour there. So if you're Linus Ullmark, you got to reflect on that and be like, that was a good way to return. And that's something you can really build off confidence-wise. And they need him here, Ross. Like we've said it. You're not getting a lot of help from the out-of-town scoreboard. You got to find ways to get points on your own, take care of teams in regulation, and it starts with goaltending. And the goaltending has not been good enough for this team this season. Now you get Linus Ullmark back. He's got a 15-8-5 record. He is the goalie that gives you the best chance to win night in and night out in this organization, I should say, because they've used a bunch of different guys. So I think him coming back, getting to play, it's likely, Ross, he's going to get 3 games here before the Olympic break, including that New Jersey one, because he's probably going to play that one on Thursday up against the Flyers too. So that's a good little boost. And then he gets another break to fully rest, relax, recover, do whatever he's got to do, and then come back, hopefully building off the momentum he's built going into this Olympic break. I actually think, Ross, in a spin zone way, it's probably a good thing that he's not on Team Sweden for the Olympics. I think getting some games in and then having a true traditional break, I'll call it, will be good for him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And you could tell, and go watch it if you haven't already. It's one of the most viewed post-game media availabilities on the Senators YouTube for good reason. Everybody was curious. It was Linus Ullmark's first scrum. He just had that one media availability with Claire Hanna when they did that one-on-one sit down. And I did smirk a little bit through the interview when he said, maybe if I let in a few goals, I would be more chipper. I was like, you don't sound chipper at all right now. You sound like very serious, thoughtful. And I appreciated that, but it's like, if that's you chipper, I'd hate to see you upset. But we all are just really happy that Linus Ullmark was able to play the way he did, make huge saves, great rebound control, just look calm, in control in the crease, which is all you needed to see if you're the Ottawa Senators. Now we'll see if he can do it again. Coming up next, we'll get to our lineup notes. And I don't know if we're bearing the lead here, but the Pittsburgh Penguins are one of the hottest teams in the NHL. Yeah. They won 6 straight games. We'll discuss what some keys to victory are for the Senators as well later on in today's show. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moments. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. You can pull up the Game Time app, pick an upcoming NBA game, and you can get tickets in minutes. They got the all-in pricing, so you can see what it costs up front. No surprise fees at checkout. You can see the view from your seat before buying tickets. Zone deals are absolutely clutch. You choose the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save. Great last-minute options, too. Everything feels quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com.
Today's episode is also brought to you by the GLEBE Central Pub. If you're looking for a place that lives and breathes hockey, the GLEBE Central Pub is for you. It's right in the heart of the Glebe. It's 779 Bank Street, just steps from Lansdowne. It's the perfect place to catch every game, every night, with great food and drink and even better company. But the GCP is about more than just catching the game. There's something happening almost every night of the week to appeal to every taste. You can do wing night every Monday, all day and all night. Trivia night goes Tuesday, so bring your crew and put that knowledge to the test. Wednesdays is open mic night. Whether you play, sing, or just want to kick back and listen, it's a great way to celebrate Hump Day. Thursdays are all about cheap tacos. And of course, Saturday night features live music with no cover ever. So whether it's hockey, live music, or just a night out with friends, make the GLEBE Central Pub your home base because, as you know, the vibes are free at the GCP. All right, Pillsy, it's game day for the Ottawa Senators on the road taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. It is a 7 o'clock puck drop on TSN 5, and we will also be back with the live stream after a day for Jacko to get boots on the ground. He'll be back doing the live stream. You'll jump on. I'll hopefully be able to jump on, and then we will have the postcast for you live after tonight's game, which will then be available wherever you get your podcast. We brought it up earlier. Penguins have won 6 straight games. Senators have won 3 straight games. The Sens are 1-0 in the season series. What makes the Pittsburgh Penguins so tough to beat right now?
Honestly, I don't know, Ross. Like, I look at this roster and I look how this season was supposed to go for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and it's surprising that they're in the position they are. I guess the real answer and the easy answer that I should have just went with is Sidney Crosby is still very good. Leads the Penguins in points with 58 points in 53 games. So it doesn't seem like he's slowed down at all. And then, I mean, you can even look at Evgeny Malkin, who's missed a lot of time, only played 38 games, but he's up to 42 points in 38 games. So both those guys are still above a point per game pace, even this far in their career. So that's probably the real answer why this team continues to find success.
I'm just shocked that this is a team, and their power play has been good all season. Like, they're 27%. They're among the best in the National Hockey League. But during this 6-game win streak, their power play has gone ice cold. They're 1 for their last 12 with the man advantage. This is a team that has been relying on even strength scoring as of late, and they've also done a lot better of a job keeping the puck out of their own net. They've only allowed 15 goals during this 6-game win streak, and 5 of them came in the Rangers game, which, I mean, in all intents and purposes, was already over by the time the Rangers started their furious comeback 9 minutes into the third period. The score was 5-1 for the Penguins at that point. So sure, it got closer than you would have liked, but this is a team that's really not giving up a whole lot. And when you look at their players on the back end, you're like, how is this such a defensively reliable group? It just doesn't jump out as guys who aren't locked into the Penguins and their young players and their guys. They obviously had Brett Kulak, who's a well-known guy for helping Edmonton get to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals, but Stuart Skinner looks fantastic recently, and they're trucking along, man. Sidney Crosby leading the way, but it feels like there's guys helping out every single night where it's a different guy that steps up. How about Anthony Mantha having 18 goals this season? Didn't have that on my bingo card. Ben Kindle, who we were huge fans of in the draft. I don't think even we would have assumed that he'd step right into the NHL and already have 12 goals on the season.
Yeah, I mean, they've been getting good contributions all over the place. Like you mentioned, Mantha has 40 points in 53 games. They signed him to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. Like this was like a, hey, we'll let you play some good minutes on the team and then we'll flip you at the deadline type of deal. And it's paying off big time for them. Another guy, Justin Brazeau, someone that I wanted the Sens to sign. They got him on a really nice deal. Only 2 years, 1.5 million, and he's popping off for them. And then you look at the trades they make, like Stuart Skinner. People were writing him off, being like, this guy can't play in the NHL, let alone be on a team that's contending for the Stanley Cup in the Oilers. We got to get rid of him. And then he comes to Pittsburgh and is absolutely incredible. And Ross, we'll see as you pull up the lineup here. This team is giving no excuses either. They have a lot of injuries all over the place, and like you mentioned, guys are stepping up and they're finding ways to win every single night. 6 straight wins.
So let's start with the Pittsburgh Penguins then. Usually we go Ottawa first, but we'll save them for the start of our next segment. And yes, the Penguins are led by number 87, a Sens villain, in my opinion, because of the way that he has dominated them over the course of his exceptional first ballot Hall of Fame career. Obviously, he is still lighting it up, man. He's the best grinder in NHL history. Like he scores and he does nice moves out there, but he plays the game the right way. Over a point per game, 58 points, 27 goals, which would lead the Senators this season. It's incredible to see for him. So my lookout player is going to be Sidney Crosby. No spoilers here, but he's going to center a line with Ricard Raquel and Justin Brazeau. Second line, Tommy Novak between Igor Chinakhov and Evgeny Malkin. Ben Kindle is between Rutger McGroarty and Anthony Mantha. And the fourth line is Blake Lizotte with Connor Dewar and Noel Achari. On the back end, it's Parker Wotherspoon with Erik Karlsson. Brett Kulak with Shea. And then Solovyov with Connor Clifton. Still no word who starts in goal, whether it's Stuart Skinner or Arthur Shelovs. We know that Kevin Hayes has been an extra for them. And Brian Rust is serving the third of a 3-game suspension after a elbow to the head of his opponent right in front of the crease. The injuries, Chris Letang, Ryan Graves, Caleb Jones, Jack St. Ivany, and Philip Hallander all out of the lineup. Pilsy, who's your lookout player to watch?
Well, I don't think it's going to be a surprise, Ross, but I'm looking out for Ben Kindle. I think he was my lookout guy last time too, but if you guys watched leading up to the draft, that was my guy. I was all over him. I wanted the Sens to pick him up, especially the chemistry that Kindle and Tkachuk had with the Calgary Hitmen. And I feel like, Ross, Kindle was kind of ranked overall, at least in our rankings, in the mid to high 20s. So looking at the Sens drafting 21st overall, of course, they trade back to 23, but in the early 20s, I even had some people being like, Pilsy, why are you wanting to reach on this guy? Like, I don't like, there's other players available. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins justify or validate my opinion. They draft him at 11th overall, and he steps into the NHL and is having a lot of success. In 50 games, he's got 12 goals, 13 assists for 25 points. And recently, Ross, he's on a 3-game point streak. He's got 5 points in those 3 games. So like he's really found a place here. That's a nice third line. You got 2 young guys in Kindle and Rutger McGroarty, and then you got Anthony Mantha, an absolute unit who has some good veteran experience. And like we already mentioned, he's popping off too. So that's a third line that is dangerous. I'm going to be looking out for my guy, Ben Kindle.
Yeah, the whole right side of the Penguins offense is big bodies, from Justin Brazeau to Evgeny Malkin to Anthony Mantha. So that left side D for Ottawa, whether it's Jake Sanderson or Tyler Kleven, we'll talk about Thomas Chabot in a couple of minutes here. He might play game time decision for him after leaving the third period last game, but they've got to be on their toes and make sure that they're being physical and closing out, because that's a lot of big bodies that are going to be coming down, barreling down that right side, whereas the left side a little bit more skilled. Still a pretty big team overall, I'd say, but a little bit more skill on the left side of their offensive threats. As I mentioned, Sidney Crosby is my lookout player to watch, and he did have a point streak come to an end 3 games ago. He had 8 points during a 5-game stretch, but he's just got 1 assist, and he's dashed 3 in the last 3 games. We know that he's always going to have a challenge. I think the most surprising part of this, his last game against the Rangers, he went 6 for 28 in the dot, Billsy. He got cleaned out. So we'll see tonight. And we'll also hope that he has lots of face-off battles against Claude Giroux, those wily vets that have been going head-to-head for the better part of 2 decades. So excited for this game tonight, and we'll get into how the Ottawa Senators line up after a quick break. You're listening to Locked On Senators, your team every day.
Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to whistle. Obviously, we're excited for the Super Bowl, but Your Ottawa Senators are playing the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight. And surprisingly, on FanDuel, the Ottawa Senators are the favorite, so you can get in on the action. And if you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. So make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season's over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Thank you for making Locked On Senators your first listen each and every day, and for helping the Locked On Podcast Network become the #1 sports podcast network. You already make us your team every day, so why not join the Everydayers Club? Just $5 USD a month, $50 USD a year, and you will get ad-free content directly to whatever platform you enjoy most listening to Locked On Senators. You'll also get access to our members-only Discord and a whole lot more. You can check us out, lockedonsenators.supercast.com. The link is in the show notes below. We will also see you tonight for the live stream on our YouTube, so make sure to subscribe there, and the postcast after the game. We are your team every day, literally. 7 o'clock puck drop tonight. Senators, 3 straight wins, and they are coming in with a level of confidence, Pilsy, that I don't think they've had all season. They're healthy for the most part, outside of David Perron. They're playing better hockey. Linus comes back, plays well, gotta be a boost there. They got dominated in the first period against New Jersey, and I almost felt it was for the best. Let Ullmark feel the fire. Don't have a period where you have 2 shots on goal, right? Let him feel the puck, and he certainly did.
Yeah, I agree. That would be, I think, not a great start for Linus if he's out there kind of cold and not getting a lot of action. And then let's say first action he gets is a high danger scoring opportunity. So I think it's good that the Ottawa Senators, I wouldn't say let him settle in, but that's the way the game went, is that he was able to settle in a little bit sooner, feel the puck, be into the game. And like you mentioned, he's going to get thrown right back into it tonight. And let's hope he can build off that nice win.
I mentioned that he's 1-0 this season against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pilsy, do you know what Linus Ullmark's career record is against the Pittsburgh Penguins in 7 games?
I'll say 5-1-1.
He is 7-0 in his career.
Damn.
Against the Pittsburgh Penguins with a 2.32 goals against average and a 930 save percentage. So
we like that.
Linus, you're in, buddy. And you're going to go up against a very, I would say, very confident team, with the Penguins sitting right now in 2nd place in the Metropolitan Division. They're kind of in no man's land in terms of going up, because the Carolina Hurricanes still have an advantage of 7 or 8 points, 7 points here. However, that said, the Penguins do have 2 games in hand on them, and they do have the Islanders breathing down their necks here, just 2 points back. But again, the Penguins do have 2 games in hand on them. Let's look at how the Ottawa Senators are to line up in tonight's game. And before we get to it, we should note that Thomas Chabot did not participate in line rushes today, did come on the ice afterwards for a skate and get into a few drills. He will be a game-time decision. Travis Green mentioned that Nicholas Matinpalo will be on the ice for warm-up, and they will decide whether they're going 7 defensemen, whether Chabot can play, can't play. That will all be a game-time decision. But what is already decided, I'm going to go ahead and say, is the lines up front, because Travis Green has found something that works over the last 3 games, and this has been exactly it, other than moving in and out Halliday when he was injured. Tim Stützle between Drake Batherson and Claude Giroux. Dylan Cousins between Brady Tkachuk and Ridley Gregg. Shane Pinto is centering Nick Cousins and Michael Amadio, and you've got Lars Eller with Stephen Halliday and Fabian Zetterlund. Already mentioned the back end. Take this with an asterisk, but it will be Jake Sanderson with Artem Zub, Thomas Chabot with Nick Jensen, Tyler Klevin with Jordan Spence, and Linus Ullmark will start in goal. Pilsy, your locked-on player to watch.
My locked-on player to watch is going to be the captain, Brady Tkachuk. Another great game for Brady. 3 points in a 4-1 win up against the Devils, and he did that in just 13 minutes of ice time. So pretty impressive there. And I mentioned Ben Kindle on a 3-game point streak. That's nice. That's impressive. Brady Tkachuk also on a 3-game point streak, but instead of just 5 points, he's got 7 points in 3 games. And before that, he was on a heater too. He just had Obviously, no points against Carolina. Only 1 goal was scored there. But anyone that has any sort of, or anyone that had any sort of issue with Brady Tkachuk over this season, I don't know how you could have any of those thoughts remaining. He's been so good recently. He's a guy that brings his team into the fight, into the battle, and he leads by example. He's getting points. He's absolutely dominating points-wise recently when you look at his stretch.
15 points in his last 9 games. He's got 18 hits. He's 67% in the face-off on 30 face-offs taken. He has 30 shots on goal as well. 6 even-strength assists and 4 even-strength goals. So even if you take out all the power play work that he's done, he's still over a point per game in the last 9. He's been playing some great hockey for sure, and has found a spot here with Dylan Cousins and Ridley Gregg.
And his point per game on the season too, Ross. 36 points in 34 games. So I'm loving what I'm seeing from Brady Tkachuk and hope he can keep things going here.
Yeah, it feels like Brady Tkachuk, he wants to go on to the Olympics here on a high note, and I would love to see him continue that. He also did have 2 goals in the game earlier this season against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Just something to keep an eye out for in tonight's game. In his career against Pittsburgh, he has 10 goals and 19 points in 18 games. So we'll be watching for that closely tonight. We're going to go with Idle Watch here. You know that Shane Pinto has done a great job against Nathan McKinnon, great job against Jack Eichel, great job against Nico Hischier on Saturday. Sidney Crosby was this guy's idol growing up. He got to skate with him just like he did with McKinnon the last couple of summers, and he is going to be tasked with the opportunity to go up against Sidney Crosby tonight. Will it be every shift? No, because they've got last change on the Penguins side, but every time that it is possible for Shane Pinto to be out there against Sidney Crosby, he will be, and it was great to see the puck go in for Pinto, albeit an empty netter, but had only 1 goal, 1 assist in his 8 previous games, so I think that that's great for the confidence, but he should have a ton of confidence just from how he has avoided offense from guys he's playing against. The LSP stats department, if time permits later today, maybe after the game even, so we can see how it stacks up. I want to go up against the last number of games, maybe since he got back from his injury, about 5-on-5, what the guy who he plays the most minutes against has produced, because it feels like he's a wet blanket over them. Guys just can't get to their game plan because he's got such a great active stick. He's such a good skater that he doesn't lose guys on the back check. And he's gritty in the corner too. Like, he comes out with a lot of pucks. And when he's got 2 of the better sticks defensively on either side of him tonight with Nick Cousins and Michael Amadio, this is going to be a huge game for them. And I think they could turn the tide in Ottawa's favor if they play well.
Yeah, Shane Pinto is such a big part of this team. I know maybe he doesn't have the offensive pop or highlight reels that the Timmys, the Bradys, the Sandersons have, but his defensive play, shutting down those key opponents, is a huge part of why this team's been successful the last 3 games.
Incredible. So we'll be watching for that tonight when the puck drops from PPG Paints Arena. Should mention, like, we've done all this talking about different players, different situations all throughout. Tim Stützle's on a 4-game point streak. He's got 6 points, 3 goals in his last 4 games. He's playing some incredible hockey.
Yeah, Timmy's been so good. And I mean, Ross, when you're that good, sometimes you just get lucky. That's got to be one of the weirdest goals Tim Stützle has ever scored. And you see his reaction after. He's like, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah. Do you see Brady on the celebration for that goal? It was hilarious. No. They show him, he leans back to give Giroux props, and right as Giroux picks his hand up, he turns away and just starts skating to the bench.
Too slow.
Just messing with the boys. Love that. And love how Timmy ended up getting rewarded with that goal. I mentioned on the postcast right away, he deserved to score based on how he was playing. The offense, everything was so on point. And even the move to get to that position where he could have maybe made a play, but it ends up coming up. Like, that toe drag was nasty. He's just feeling himself right now. And I can't wait to see what this guy is when he's 28, 30 years old and has all the experience on top of it, because he's electric. So shout out Timmy, man. What a player. We're excited to see him up tonight. And you got to think that the Penguins are probably going to try to match up Crosby against Timmy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do it here. But anyone that gets tasked with Sidney Crosby, whether it's Timmy, Dylan Cousins or Shane Pinto, you got your work cut out for you.
Because what do you do if you're in opposition? Like, think about how Ottawa lines up. Like, they don't have that number one line like Winnipeg has, where it's you shut down the Scheifele line and away you go. It's like, are we shutting down? We've got Timmy on one line, we've got Brady on another, and then if you want to match your best players up against the third line, sure, because that's what Travis Green would want. It's almost like he's trying to trap you in to going up against the line he wants you to anyways.
Yeah, I love the way these lines have shaken out. Not how I would have drawn it up and how I had it set in the offseason, but it's working really well now. And you can't change anything if you're Travis Green, in my opinion.
Can't change anything. But can you change anything if you're Steve Staios? And that leads us into our final conversation here on today's show, because the NHL trade freeze is coming up quicker than I think a lot of us were expecting, right? The Olympics are starting soon. The opening ceremonies, I think, are later this week on February 5th or 6th. So all that to say, here's the news. And then, Pillsy, I want your reaction to it. During the Olympics, there are restrictions on teams making player transactions. There is no trades from February 4th. So this Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, all the way until February 22nd at midnight. Now, that is notable because the first game back for the Senators is on the 26th. So you're able to make trades starting the day after the gold medal game. The day after the gold medal game, still 3 days in between then and when the teams play. Players can be sent down if they're waiver exempt, and players can be placed on waivers during the freeze. But if the player was waived after the NHL team's final game before the freeze, they don't report to the AHL until February 17th. So that's the litigation of it. But it brings me to, do you think that there'll be teams desperate enough to try to make a move here right under the buzzer?
No, I don't think so, Ross. Like, for me, I'm trying to think of players on trade boards and teams and scenarios where it's like, oh my God, we got to get this done within the next 48 hours. And I don't really see that happening. I mean, we did have an Olympic player moved recently in Rasmus Anderson. But I think that was more like Vegas being like, hey, we really want this guy and we'll get it done. I don't think the Olympic break or the fact that he was going to the Olympics had anything to do with that. So I don't think we'll see anything coming up soon here.
No, I don't think so either. I think the last little bump we had with the couple trades here and there, that's what teams are trying to push for before the Olympics. At this point, you're going to get the player on Tuesday or Wednesday. They play one game and then everyone goes separate ways. The only thing it would be good for is if they're not Olympic players, is getting their family situated, but then they're losing their vacation part of it anyways. I think it's going to be no more bets, but it is interesting that Nashville picked today to decide that Barry Trotz is out, but he's not out yet. He's going to retire when a replacement comes in. So kind of a weird situation going on in Nashville.
Yeah, definitely weird there. And one thing Elliot Friedman mentioned is GMs are kind of having this back and forth being like, hey, I want to move this guy before the Olympic break. What do you think? And then the other GM being like, I know what you're doing here. You're trying to trade a guy so you don't have to pay him a couple $100,000 to sit on the beach. And I got to pick up that tab to have a guy be on our team and on our payroll, but he's not playing in games for us. So I think that's part of it too, is, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not a high percentage of your cap or what a team spends, but like, you're talking six figures here for a guy to be on your payroll for a couple weeks. That is a factor from what Elliot Friedman was saying.
Interesting all around there in Nashville, but if they want a fire sale, there's some interesting names that I wouldn't mind Stevie Staios calling about with the Preds.
Go on.
Well, I'm just saying, depends what they want to move. I mean, they don't have that right shot defenseman that I think Sens fans are hoping upgrades from Nick Jensen, unless you wanted to keep it in the Nick family, because there's been, I think, some Sens fans that think Nick Perbix is just having a down year. He looked good in Tampa, but it's been a tough go for him with the Nashville Predators. Wouldn't be my first choice. If we're looking at Nashville, I'm looking at Ryan O'Reilly. I know that that's a name and maybe a position that the Sens are strong on, but the contract looks so good, man. $4.5 million next year and the rest of this year for Ryan O'Reilly, and he's on an absolute tear. I don't think I'd give up what Nashville would want for him, but if they want to talk, whether it's him, they want to talk about Jonathan Marchessault, I'd have a conversation about that. Don't love the term on that deal, but I'd be willing to have a chat. And there's some interesting names up and down that lineup.
Yeah, Ryan O'Reilly just doesn't make sense for me. Like, where is he going to play? Where are you going to put him? How are you going to move guys out? And you are not outbidding teams that want him. So it's a fun idea, Ross, but it immediately hits roadblocks for me. And I'm like, nah, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. I think I'm at the point now where it's like, just get me a right shot defenseman.
Yeah.
Try to get her out from under Nick Jensen's contract, and let's just go from there. Because the way that the forwards have been set up recently, it's like there's no holes. I think Stephen Halliday's emergence here as a bottom six option has really kind of alleviated a need. I still think if you can go out and get a 40 goal scorer to play with Timmy and move Giroux down. I'm just saying that's the only way that you
like
really
I said, that would be so cool. It'd be super cool, Ross, but you can't do it. Like it's crazy. And I've been saying all year long, I think that like the priority to find a top six guy just doesn't make sense for me. This team has the guys, and when they're playing up to their standard, like look at all the goals they're scoring up against good teams. Like they can score goals. So yeah, it's just about finding a Nick Jensen replacement in my opinion. Now that you're more confident in the goaltending too, you got Ullmark back. Reimer can start games if you need. Levy's building up his confidence in the minors. So honestly, I would be happy if the Sens didn't make any moves.
Pillsy, final thoughts, and I'd like some keys to victory, please.
Final thoughts for me is this weekend went terribly for the Belleville Senators. Unfortunately, back-to-back 6-5 losses to the Cleveland Monsters. Now, one of them in overtime, so that's good, I guess.
Carter Yakimchuk highlight reel goal, and we got Oscar Pettersson pew on the board, so it wasn't all bad.
Yeah, but Ross, we're looking for points and we're looking to find ways into the playoffs, and that was a division rival that has games in hand on you and has now leapfrogged you, and you are now sitting out of a playoff spot. So sure, the individual stuff, Tyler Boucher had a 3-point game as well, but like that was such a big weekend, and they weren't up to the task there. So that's unfortunate for the Belleville Senators, but they've got a big game up against Rochester on Wednesday, and then a big weekend with 2 games against the Syracuse Crunch. So let's hope they can right the ship here, because they were so hot before this weekend kind of stifled them.
Yeah, they were. All right, Ottawa, Pittsburgh tonight.
I didn't have keys to victory. Keys to victory, I'll go with Linus Ullmark. You mentioned his stats up against the Pittsburgh Penguins. I want to see him win this game for the Ottawa Senators. Like the Penguins are on a 6-game win streak. We got to respect them. But I want to see Linus Ullmark not just like have a good game and be like, oh, it's like great to be back kind of thing, not taking anything away from his win. But I want to see him be the main reason why this team gets the win.
Okay. I'm going to go with the power play, because the power play has been streaky this season. They were 8 for 53, but in those 8 games, it was 2 stretches of 2 games once, 3 games here, where they go off the charts, red hot. Well, they snapped a 5-game drought in the win Saturday, and they had 2 goals in that game. So I'm going to say score 2 goals on the power play, you'll win the game. That's my key to victory.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it.
Yep. The Penguins have been good at 5-on-5 right now. I mentioned that during this stretch, their power play hasn't been very good. 1 for 11, sorry. Their PK is 11 for 12. So even though they're not producing on the power play, they're not giving up anything extra on the penalty kill. So I think 5-on-5, you're going to want to at least break even and then win the game on the power play. That's what my key to victory is tonight. For the Ottawa Senators, we'll find out what happens when they take the ice tonight at 7 o'clock from Pittsburgh. We'll see you in the watch party with Jack Richardson and the postcast immediately following tonight's game. It's the first of 2 games in 2 days, so make sure that you're subscribed to Locked On Senators everywhere you listen to podcasts, including on YouTube. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. Thank you so much for liking, watching, listening, and engaging with the show. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.